The lady on the front of here is Ray Leonard. Where did she come into all this? Well, just so you know, there's a lot of recordings with her on my YouTube and Facebook. Alright, so I met Desiree in probably 2003, 2004. She was an alcoholic in Boulder, Colorado, who lived with her mother at a trailer park in North Boulder. The story that I tell about the lady that I sat down with a sign for a while, and I didn't make shit. My sign asked for exactly what I was after. Desiree had come to me crying. She didn't have any diapers. She didn't have any money for diapers, and her mom was way too fucked up to be watching the kids, but she had to go get diapers because the kids were desperately in need of them. After several hours, I flipped over the sign and I wrote on the other side, "Why lie? I need a beer." And within 15 minutes, I had the money to give her to go down to the store and get diapers. The American people are so pre-programmed to believe that all homeless people are fucking druggies and addicts. They won't help out people who are actually sober, who are actually asking for something they actually need. Because you just assume that if they're asking for diapers, if they're asking for gas, they're really not going to spend it on diapers or gas. They're going to go spend it on crack. They're going to go spend it on meth. They're going to go spend it on booze. The American people are so pre-programmed to believe this shit that there's assholes that will make you lie to them about what you're spending it on because they want you to reinforce their false beliefs. Well, shit, I'll give him money if he's honest about what he's spending it on. But I'm not going to believe that they're going to get fucking diapers. Fuck no, if they fucking gave a shit about their kids, they wouldn't be out there fucking flying a sign, they'd be getting a job. Fucking Christ. So Desiree, fuck, I need to blow my goddamn nose. Desiree was also friends with Natalie Bollinger's mother, Rose M. Kelly, aka Rose M. Self. And at one point in time, Rose M. Bollinger. Desiree was an alcoholic the entire time I've known her. She's also prided herself on being violent with men. She loves to beat up men. Primarily because men don't actually try to fight back against her. I've literally never seen a man my entire life go full bore on a woman or anywhere near. Not even close. Even if she's twice his size. And I mean that. When a guy goes proverbially for the jugular on another man, unless he's never been in a fight before, it's going to be a struggle. And when you get him in one of those good holds, he's going to struggle. He's going to try to prevent you from doing that. Most women, when they end up getting stuck in a chokehold after they assaulted a man, they don't know what to do. Also, a lot of them, it doesn't register to them that they can tap out. I mean, the dude's not trying to fucking hurt you. He's just trying to stop you from hurting him. See, that's what pain administration is for. If someone is physically violent with you, that's one thing. But I wasn't, was I? Was I physically violent? No, not through any of this. Not with even one person. Now, when I was locked up for trying to turn in police officers and other predators, And I was physically assaulted and drugged in those places. And I was assaulted by those people. They just work together. Behavioral health gets extra kickdowns from cops. Cops get extra kickdowns from behavioral health. That's because they're both paid by the American taxpayer. Are those places going to listen to the victim? Sorry, the patient? Or are they going to listen to the cops? What happens when you tell on bad cops? All cops are against you. There isn't a good cop in the fucking country. I've had several people get on my channel and pretend like they're related to somebody who's a good cop. Really? If you're related to a good cop, have them get a hold of me. I bet you're full of shit. There's a difference between don't want to and it's not safe to do so. If I'm telling you that something is unsafe to do so alone, it's because I've already tried it alone. Stupid. Now, Desiree, before Natalie was killed, was a friend of mine. Oh, connection issues. Desiree got stabbed 37 times up in the mountains. She was in the paper for that. Her and her boyfriend DJ. Over a dog. DJ got gutted like a fish, but he survived. None of these people are friends with me anymore. After Natalie was killed, my friend Christine Buhit, who is now dead, got a hold of me to let me know that Desiree was in a bad way in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And although nobody would help me how I needed, that didn't mean that I wasn't willing to help them how they needed. So I took money that I got from Dan Faber. I went to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I rescued Desiree how she needed. Twice. What was her thank you to me? Well, she's a meth addict. She stole anything that she could fucking sell. She didn't give a holy fucking goddamn about me. But do I get to speak up about that? Does my family give a shit to hear my side? No, they don't. They only care if I pay them. And when I pay them, do they come to help? No, they come to talk over me and treat it like it's hanging out with their friends. They bring their friends to hang out instead of showing up to fucking work. I'm tired of writing this shit down for people. I wish somebody would just come sit and actually listen to me speak. We can write it down together while I'm speaking, but I need to know that they're hearing me. And here we go, right down at the bottom of this. We got ourselves another predator. There have been hundreds of these. Well, actually, literally thousands. What are we going to do with this punk-ass little bitch? That's right. Hide user on this channel. I speak on my channel because people in real life don't make the time to listen. And that's what I need. I don't need them to offer a fix for everything or to ask me what it is that I'm done. I'm telling them. I'm already busy telling them. They don't have to ask any fucking questions. All they have to do is fucking listen. And when a man is being abused, it's just like what we listen to women bitch about. When they want to bitch at something, they don't want us to fix everything. They just want us to fucking listen. Right? Well, how the fuck can't you respect a man? When a man is being abused, he needs you to listen. He needs you to know what the fuck is going on. Now, one thing that a lot of people point out is that a woman's solution to being broke, to having financial hardships, is oftentimes to go shopping. Shopping is therapy. We teach women to use shopping as therapy. That's the opposite of help. There's a lot of women that I know who are angry at their husbands because they want to explain to their husbands. They want a woman explain to him that that's their therapy. When your husband's telling you that you're broke, that you've spent way too much money on Louis Vuitton bags and fancy fucking clothing, and there is no money left for you to spend. Now you're stressed out because he's bitching at you. It's his fault that you're stressed out. It's his fault that you have to go therapize yourself by going and spending more fucking money that you don't fucking have. See, this is the great disparity between men and women. Not even in boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband-wife relationships, but in just everyday relationships. It is very difficult to be friends with someone who is between the ages of 18 and 35, who is a woman in this country. It is very difficult because you constantly have to second guess her motives. If she's really super sweet, you still have to pay attention to the people that she keeps around her. Does she have 10 suitors around her, but she's super sweet? She's telling you you're different from the other guys? Yeah, dude, just go away. That's nothing but trouble. When you're being told that as a man, when you're telling her something that is important, all right, our finances are going down the tubes. A lot of women that I know have financially sucked me dry. I've never dated any of these women, any of them. And even I have to express, hey, I can't afford this. I can't. I also can't afford the hundreds of empty promises of if you ever need something, I'll be there. Well, you weren't there, were you? No matter what, you play stupid. Every single woman in this country is taught from when she's knee-high to a grasshopper how to turn shit into the police. The difference between being a boy and a girl is that when you're a boy and you go through those motions, you're blown off, you're dismissed, you're ignored. When what we need is for a woman to stop trying to fix it and actually listen to what's going on so she knows what's going on. Oh, we're broke. We're $1,500 in the hole just on our bills for this month, not counting last month. Hey, let's go to the mall and go to Baskin Robbins and go on a date. That'll make us feel better. No, that stresses us the fuck out. That's not fixing the problem. That's not even addressing the problem. That's ignoring the problem and making it worse. And the more times you do that, the worse it gets and the closer it gets to a fucking deadline. A lot of women in this country are complaining about being the financial person of the family. Except that they're not the financial person of the family, the man is, in most of these cases. She might be earning more than him, but she's going to spend 80% of that money. She's going to decide where 80% of that cash goes and what's he stuck with. Let's say she brings in 50% of the income and he brings in 50% of the income. By the way, if women worked the same amount of hours as men do, men work an average of 7 hours of overtime per week, more than women do. This is average. Now, the average income right now for a man is only $37,800. This is down significantly from almost $49,000 6 years ago. But let's pretend that you're both making $50,000 a year. We'll try to make it a well-rounded number. So 100% of your finances, 50% comes from her, 50% comes from him. If she's making 80% of the spending decisions, she's spending her 50%. She's also spending 30 out of his 50%. That leaves him with 20% of their total income, only 40% of his total income. In an economy that requires us collectively to have a roof over our heads, especially at starting wages. What are you looking at? You're looking at literally having to work 3 full-time jobs between however many people are in that household. 3 full-time jobs just for the overhead. In the 1950s, it only took 1. And you could still put your kids through college. By the 1980s, you basically had to have a 2-parent working household. In the late 90s and early 2000s is when the cost of childcare outpaced the amount that a parent could earn while their child is in childcare in most of these jobs, especially if they've got a special needs child. When you're working a minimum wage job that at the time was $7.50 an hour, $7.50 an hour. And the average child care cost per hour for an autistic child is $27. Yeah, you need to be a stay-at-home parent at that point. You need one of those 2 parents to be stay-at-home. But we've also made it so that women are blameless. No matter what, we will manipulate and twist it however we can so that a woman is not held responsible. Nearly every man that I know who's divorced tells me the worst thing you can possibly do is get a joint account when you're married. Because here's the thing, you go to pay your bills and you realize every month that there's money missing and somehow she doesn't know where it went. She doesn't know where it went. You realize she's got a whole closet full of dresses that weren't there before. You realize that she's wearing a bunch of jewelry that you didn't give her. And what does she tell you? Oh, well, this is a family heirloom. I got this here, I got this there. One guy, the reason that he got divorced from his wife is that there was a brand name jeweler place. His wife had this brand new necklace. He'd seen it on a fucking commercial. And she was telling him it was a family heirloom from grandma. Just wondering where all of his money's going. When he let her know that that wasn't okay, that he wasn't okay with that she needed to be honest with him, that they didn't have the money to do that. They still had a joint account. He didn't freeze up the account. She took all of his money. She took all of it out of the account. They couldn't pay their bills, and then she ran around telling everybody that he was a cheapskate. Anyway, let's get back to Desiree. After Natalie was killed, Christine Buhit got a hold of me to let me know Desiree needed rescued. I took her in. I let her into my apartment. I took her to all the services so that she would get hooked up immediately, instead of having to try to do it herself, instead of having to go in alone. And then afterwards, what did she say to me? See, Sean, it's not that difficult. I'm like, yeah, I went in with you. You wouldn't have gotten off the couch if I hadn't have been there. And that's exactly how it went. If I didn't take her, she didn't go. We got her a mailbox. We got her P.O. box. We got her hooked up with Region 1 Nebraska. But while I was planning on spending a lot more time with Desiree, I didn't have the time because I was always babysitting for Amy Witcher and Andrew Witcher while Andrew went and got all fucked up on drugs. All they did was take advantage of me. Same thing with Desiree. She stole all my fucking stuff. I needed that fucking evidence for court. I needed those clothes. I needed that stuff. She went and stole all the stuff that was worth something. Then she blamed it on this guy in Cheyenne, Wyoming, claimed that he tasered her and carried her down the stairs and put her and all of my stuff in the vehicle in broad daylight. Oh, hell no. But I didn't have any friends or family to help me turn it in. Nicole Peralta didn't care, and Jen Beebe was my caseworker at the time. They never came forward about any of the things that happened. They never tried. They never tried to turn in any of the abuse that I've endured. They never tried. These mandated reporters that I was sent to, that are supposed to help me with this, all they would do is change the subject. Not one of them would lift a fucking finger to help me turn in the ongoing abuse, no matter how many times I told them. So Desiree went back to the same situation, the same drugs, the same people. No consequences for her whatsoever. She wanted to tell me stuff that she should have come forward in public with. Now, since taking advantage of me, stealing all of my things, stealing my evidence, stealing my little iPad thingy, her tablet, yeah, Jamie Curtis bought that for me in Rapid City, South Dakota. It was full of evidence, and Desiree fucking stole it. She fucking stole it because she's a goddamn junkie. Will my brother listen to me? No, he's a fucking junkie who only listens to fucking junkies because he's a fucking stupid goddamn junkie. No, he wanted to fucking pass judgment on me without ever bothering to try hearing my side from any of these goddamn junkies he'd listen to, but not to me. Well, he look at the evidence of the fact that I'm telling the truth. No, he didn't even try. He had already decided in his head this fucking fantasy, and it must be true because of that, and it makes it okay for him to be a fucking piece of shit. These services that I'm sent to, when they ask if I have friends or family that can help, when I say no, that puts me at further risk of being abused, and they know it. But instead, what that tells them is that nobody's going to care if they don't do their job. What it's supposed to mean by law is that they have to intervene because I don't have anyone who's going to do. I'm being taken advantage of because of the mentally ill tag. Yes, this is bias and discrimination against disabled people, you fucking twits. You see how at risk I am? Because I am sent to goods and services that only fucking help junkies. Because you spend so much money. You have incentivized for these therapists, these police officers, and these hospitals to take advantage of junkies. They won't help sober people because there's not enough money in it. They won't do their jobs as mandated reporters because there's no money in it, because it takes too much time. Because them doing their job by law to do something immediately will prevent them from having a meeting with a meth addict that they have every month, every 30 days like clockwork. They stack us up like cordwood in their appointment schedules, back to back to back to back, never addressing our issues. And especially those of us who are not on drugs, we literally have to do drugs to be able to get into most of these fucking programs. I literally have to smoke marijuana to get help from most of these programs. And the programs that will help if I'm not a druggie won't help me if I admit that I've ever smoked pot. They'll just pretend I'm a fucking junkie and send me to services that only help junkies. Meanwhile, I have to at least smoke pot if I'm being sent to places that homeless congregate here. Why? Because if I'm a square, if I don't drink and I don't do drugs, then I must be a cop. And that's how it translates in their fucking fantasy minds. Well, you're paranoid that all homeless people are rapists and fucking alcoholics and junkies and murderers. All the fucking junkies that we got out here are paranoid that all of you guys are fucking cops, and anybody who doesn't do drugs is a fucking cop. For somebody like me, all I get is hell. I'm only disabled when my predators want to pretend that I'm a retard who's schizophrenic and making shit up. When it comes to allowing me the rights of a disabled person, what do? Oh, well, you're intelligent, you can do it yourself, you can figure it out. No, I can't figure out how to get a bunch of fucking cowards to do the right thing. I can't figure out how to get a bunch of fucking manipulators and people who take advantage of me to stop. I don't get taken advantage of because I'm fucking retarded. I get taken advantage of because I have to go to those places. I have to go to those places for help. Or my predators get to pretend that I wasn't trying to get help. If I reach out to my friends and family for help, these people pretend, like Natalie Bollinger, for example. I tried to get help stopping actual abuse by a bunch of fucking junkies by doing what I was obviously told to do and have been told to do many times since. Go to your friends and family. They don't give a fuck. That's what puts us at risk. You have any idea how many people are out on the streets because their families are rapists, child molesters, financial and physical abusers? Most of us are not out here by choice. We're out here because we had to flee abuse. We don't have the money to move into a new apartment. And we're not an 18 to 30-year-old woman. Meanwhile, there's lots of 18 to 30-year-old women who are not young and good looking. A lot of them women look old beyond their years because of the life that they had to live growing up. Those fat women are never going to get those special privileges that those of you privileged white girls, and of course it's not just white girls, is it? Those of you who expect us to cater to you. We do cater to you. Our entire society is bullied into catering to you. And no matter how much we give you, it is not good enough. At this point, I've got a lot of real mean political ideas. You might think of them as mean, but it's the intelligent thing to do. Almost. Now, after I tell you my idea here, I'm going to tell you why it's a bad idea. If we take every woman in America, right? Because the majority of the women who are doing this shit are the ones who think they're fucking pretty. Think that they're so incredibly pretty that they can get away with doing whatever the fuck they want. So we take every woman in America, and we have men decide on a scale of 1 to 10, based on her looks, how physically attractive she is. And every woman who is a 7, an 8, or a 9, or a 10, you kick out of the country. Now, we don't have to cater to the most pretty women in the country, but wait. If we don't have those women in the country, people are still going to get lonely. Both men and women are going to get lonely. They're going to couple up. And the girls who used to be a 4, 5, and a 6 are now an 8, 9, and a 10. Now they're the best looking women. So we're going to cater to them, aren't we? It's a vicious cycle of give an inch and they take a mile. Nicole Peralta had no fear of consequences. Desiree had no fear of consequences. Jen Beebe had no fear of consequences. Her boss, Tennille, had no fear of consequences. These women have no fear of consequences. There are no consequences for them. They're in a position of power where they don't have to do their jobs in that position of power. They just say, oh, we don't have time, or that's not our job. I recorded Penny Cooper and Marcia Estrada both telling me different stories back and forth, playing fucking head games. I've got recordings with Marcia Estrada where she claims that she has already told Penny Cooper that it is her job. Followed by recordings from Penny Cooper where she's still claiming that it's not her job. But I couldn't turn them in because they're the people that who are supposed to help me to turn stuff into. They're the ones who I go to and tell them about it, and they're supposed to, as mandated reporters, help me to turn it in. Who do I go to? Who do I fucking go to? I'm supposed to go to the police. They refuse to do their jobs and send me to mental health. Mental health refuses to do their jobs and play fucking head games. And then they send me back to the police, who send me back to mental health, who send me back to the police and back to mental health. Without you there to prevent that, and without you listening to understand that, I have to take abuse. I also have to rely on drug addicts because I'm not sure if you've noticed, but as ineffective as they've been, they've still been 100% more effective than the police. Because the police have literally been 0% effective. They've literally gone out of their way not to investigate a single crime that's been committed against me. Homeless and disabled men are not people to you. This is why I fight so hard for assisted termination of life. A lot of people expect me to write stuff down, where if they would just stop and make the time to listen. If you can take the time to read it, you can take the time to listen. Forcing me to write it down again and again and again and again. You know what? I write it down. I spend hours and hours literally physically hurting myself to write it down because of assaults that I endured at the hands of officers that you're never going to look up. No matter what, when I write it down, I have no guarantee that you're going to do those things. And even if you promise to me and swear to me that you're going to do those things, none of these people that claim that they would do that actually looked at that stuff unless I was there with them actually showing them. Otherwise, it's the that's, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that happened. Ugh. Now let me explain to you how shitty human beings are. See, people aren't going to listen to your story. They're always going to dig for excuses to look the other way, to do absolutely nothing, and you fucking know it. The I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Or the, oh, I'd kill a motherfucker. I'd do this, and I'd do that, and I'd do this. No, you wouldn't. Now, if you're angry enough that you're going to say that you'd kill him, how about you help the victim to turn him in instead? How about instead of repeatedly talking about doing shit that'll get you put in prison, how about we turn it in together for our safety so that we are less likely to be blown off, dismissed, and so that you hear the instructions that I'm given instead of me having to recite those instructions back to you for you to argue with me because you didn't make the call with me. Now we get to look at what's abuse. Social isolation is abuse. When you tell someone to move away from all that they know, all their friends, all their family, all that they've worked for, to throw it all away and go fucking homeless, to flee the fucking abuse. Do you stop for one fucking moment? For one fucking moment to actually listen to the fucking victim? Or are you telling them to do expensive shit that nobody could ever possibly fucking afford to do? Not even rich people could afford to do all the shit that you're telling me to do all the time. A bunch of shit that doesn't work unless you have a friend or fucking family member. Do you not understand what the term mentally ill means? According to the courts and the American public, The way that the news media paints it. If somebody with Down syndrome is taken advantage of, you use the term mentally ill. They took advantage of a mentally ill person, right? But you only care if it's somebody who is visually your representation of the word retarded. If they're not your representation visually of something that is fucking disgusting to begin with, you treating people like they're fucking retarded, pretending that they are retarded as your excuse to look away. Well, wait a second. If it's somebody with Down syndrome who looks the picture of your assumption, then it's wrong to do that to that person with Down syndrome. But it's not wrong to do it to an autistic person, is it? No. When an autistic person is abused, you pretend they're retarded or mentally ill the other way. Oh, they're too retarded to understand social cues, so we have to beat them into submission. If somebody with Down syndrome doesn't quite understand, is it okay for you to abuse them into submission? To beat them up? To fucking strap them to a bed? And then inject them with drugs and pretend that while they were strapped to a bed, injected with drugs, that they assaulted you? How? They're strapped to a fucking bed, dumbass! This is how you treat autistic homeless men. Look at how many people last year alone that were autistic and were either shot or tasered for being fucking autistic, for stimming, because you, the American public, are going to look at that person, assume druggie, call the cops, and get an innocent person shot for being different. You aren't going to listen to the victim. You will not listen to an autistic person because of the assumption of retardation. Autism Speaks is a Cure the Retard Foundation. That's what they want. They want to cure the retards. We're not retarded. Just so you know, a lot of low-functioning autistic people, the ones that you pretend all of us are like that, there's portions of the brain that are active in some of the greatest minds that we have ever known. The greatest minds of the 20th century, especially on the latter half of the century, we got to see what portions of the brain were active on them. Low-functioning autistic people, many of them, have activity in those portions of the brain and far larger levels, far heavier levels of neural activity in those regions of the brain. People with photographic memories that are able to communicate, the portion of their brain that is always extremely active, more active than most. A lot of people who are low-functioning autistic, the activity in that part of their brain, they gather so much information in just one moment of time. The way they believe it works would be like if your entire life was a series of 1 second photographs, each one of them not just with the photograph itself, but also with the memories contained during that time. What you were feeling emotionally, what you were feeling physically, where you were at. All of the memories associated with that picture. And, of course, you have one of those pictures for every single moment of your life. And all of the information that goes with it. Always playing at every moment. This kind of brain activity has also been found in some people who are catatonic. All the cops had to do was pretend that these people didn't exist. That's all they had to do. Public pretenders showed that they weren't interested in doing their jobs. They spent more time bullying me than the cops did. Not listening. When I told them if they're not going to do their job, they need to let the judge know. Well, what did they do? Helped with malicious prosecution by having me locked up. How's a doctor going to decide if he's not going to look at evidence or doesn't have access to look at the evidence? If I say a police officer assaulted me and the police tell that doctor that I'm schizophrenic or delusional or making shit up, the doctor's never going to listen to me. That's why you have to have friends or family involved instead of having to go to your fucking predators. God damn it! When those officers lie to doctors and nurses, they're abusing their fucking power. And when doctors and nurses write it down as if it's fact, they're committing fucking felonies, dipshit. These aren't civil fucking crimes. I was able to talk to Desiree on multiple occasions, and she let it be known loud and clear that she was expecting me to pull out some sort of vigilante street justice. She wanted the man dead. Kevin McCormick. Kevin McGregor. I'm not gonna kill people. What the fuck was she thinking? Oh, she wasn't. She was on fucking drugs the whole time. One of the recordings I have with her, she's with another guy I know named Keegan. They're in Colorado at that point. This is after Desiree is stolen from me, ripped me off, and taken advantage of me. And she admitted that she was tripping balls. She had eaten some mushrooms. My YouTube channel is full of evidence of threats, harassment, and intimidation, and my phones are full of screenshot after screenshot of pieces of shit that I've deleted. Someone calling himself Iconic Ice 45 typed hi. Hi. Let me guess, you're another troll. You're going to type a couple of nice sentences, and then you're going to start typing Ativan 666 or something about Forrest Gump, or you're going to make a fucking joke about a mice and man and you get to tend the rabbits, huh? Iconic Ice 45 typed, nope. I hope that's true. I need help turning this in. I didn't make this channel for people's entertainment. Iconic Ice 45 typed, who doing that? Well, I'll send you a whole bunch of screenshots and you can see the names of the profiles that are doing it. Some of them are profiles in my friends and family's names. Some of them are profiles in famous people's names. These folks just make profile after profile after profile, sometimes hit me up with 7 or 8 profiles in just one of these. Iconic Ice 45 type. ONG, they are just bored. It's not just bored. See, you're making excuses for my predators now. No, this is a long-term issue over the death of Natalie Bollinger. And don't tell me not to pay attention to them. I have to deal with abusers doing this in real life. Telling me not to pay attention to abuse? That's the most horrible thing you can do to someone who's being victimized. Iconic 45 or Iconic Ice 45 typed, don't pay attention to them, and on God. Well, I don't believe in anyone's God. None of us are gods. Iconic Ice 45 typed, oh, okay, MB, I understand. Thank you. See, that's the thing about when a male's being abused, he's going to get talked over. The difference between a male who's abused and a female who's abused is that we're supposed to stop whatever we're doing at a moment's notice and listen to a woman. We're expected to do this. Both men and women socially are expected to do this. And of course, men, they tend to be the ones who are the brunt of all of it. I don't know how many women have volunteered for their boyfriends, husbands, sons to do manual labor. They don't volunteer themselves to do that. They always volunteer men around them. Oh, well, I'll get this man to do it. They expect it. Otherwise, they wouldn't volunteer it. They've already decided that he's going to. We're taught that that's rude, aren't we? Iconic Ice 45 type, if you're a male going through abuse, it don't matter. But woman, we had to bend over backwards for them. We still have to bend over backwards for them. If we're not the top 5% of men that women find attractive, or the 15% of men that women are willing to settle for, you're not the top 20%. You're the literally 80% of men who women consider ugly, not unattractive, not mildly unattractive, but absolutely ugly. We're the ones that when their boyfriend, who is not ugly, he's either the top 5%er if she's really super lucky, or a top 20%er if she's the rest, and they have to share the same guys. Do they not realize this? I mean, they're basically recycling the same 10 assholes. We're not just catering to women when we help them out as the tools in their toolbox. There is no friend zone. It's either your turn or you're a tool. She'll pull you out of the toolbox when she wants something. Then we've got trends. Men tend to leave a woman when they're fed up with her shit. Women tend to leave a man when they've already got an upgrade lined up. The majority of the women that I know that were married or dating somebody that I knew were already having sex with somebody else before they ever broke up with their husband. And of course, in order to get that going on, you got to lie to them and say, oh, well, I'm going to leave my husband. Oh, he's a piece of shit. Oh, he beats me. And what does that run into? Well, then you got some woman on TV. Oh, I don't know why he killed my husband. Huh? Iconic Ice 45 is retracting messages. Well, I took a screenshot of that because I don't trust anybody who starts doing that, especially with the 2 messages that you retracted. I'm not going to play them games. Be true to your words. Don't hide them. If you're going to say it and then hide it, You're playing head games, and I'm not okay with that. Iconic Ice 45 type. Oh, okay. Thank you. Iconic Ice 45 type. No, I just got bored. Well, if you're going to say something like that, be true to it. Stick to your words. If you made a mistake in typing, well, admit that you made a mistake. No problem. Now, Desiree, she expected that I would just take the abuse from her, that nobody was going to give a shit if she took advantage of me. And because I'm a nice guy who wanted to try to be understanding, even when she stole evidence of abuse against me, and I had to start all over again from scratch, from ground zero. And no matter what, like here I am arguing with people on the internet instead of getting help turning this in. Iconic Ice 45 typed, trust me, I mean it. And then he typed, I have a question. Lots of people have questions. What's your question? We're going to go through some of the things that are bad ideas. When you ask someone, well, why don't you just move? What you're doing right there is letting them know that you don't care about them, that you don't care about the expenses that would incur, that you don't care whether or not they have the ability to do that, that you don't care about them as a friend. Because here's the thing, if you're asking them to move, if they're getting a hold of you and you're a local friend and you're asking them, well, why don't you just move? Meanwhile, when you had to move as that friend who's giving the suggestion, you got to move with your family or even with some of your friends to a new place. You start off with a support network. For me, when I move to a new place, I have to try to establish a support network before I'm victimized by police and other homeless people. Otherwise, it turns into a situation like happens here in Hood River, in the Dalles. While people are telling me to be patient, they're promising me they're going to help me how I need, but also they keep on changing the deal. Now they need this, now they need that. How many of y'all are used to that out of your wives, out of your girlfriends, or even out of your mothers? Where it's an equal exchange at the very beginning. Then you fulfill your end of the bargain and they change their minds about something. So you fulfill your end of the bargain again. So they change their minds again. They're literally doing nothing. They are doing absolutely nothing except manipulating you to fucking death. You have now wasted how many hours, days, weeks, months, or even possibly years? How many of you guys who got married, the moment she said I do, she started breaking her wedding vows? All of a sudden it went from, hey, we're a partnership, we work good together, we're fun around each other, I love you just the way you are, I love you just the way you are. And then the moment you're married, it's you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Here's the expectations of a married man. You are not allowed to be the man that I claim to love. You are now, this is the box of expectations for a husband. This is who you are now. Get on it or you're a bad husband. I'm going to go complain to my mom if you don't do this shit. I'm going to take the kids and call you an abuser if you don't do this shit. Holy hell. Iconic Ice 45 typed, are you trying to report messages to the authors? No. I'm trying to report long-term abuse on the internet and in real life. Long-term threats, harassment, stalking, intimidation. There are hundreds of videos on my channel that show people being assaulted, myself included. There's hundreds of recordings of me trying to get help from the police, with them talking over me and dismissing me. Jessica typed, sounds like you're going through a rough time. I hope you find peace. Now that right there is how a woman helps. This is how they're expected to help. Some bullshit about God, some bullshit about peace, some pretty fucking meme that she heard last week or read on fucking Twitter or Twitch or fucking Facebook. Hopes and fucking dreams. Men provide actual help. Women spout hopes and dreams. When there's a financial issue, men try to tighten up the reins and ask their wives to please stop spending so much of our mutual money. We guys ask our female friends, please understand that I am a human being too, and I am spending all of my time, all of my money, everything that could possibly help me to have a future, because you cannot be happy ever. You want me to rescue you from your abusive boyfriend, so I spend my time and my resources to help you with that. Then 2 weeks later, you're back with that abusive boyfriend because you're lonely. He just beat the fuck out of you 2 weeks ago, didn't he? Oh no, now your story's different. Now you was just scared that he might. Meanwhile, now your boyfriend, who's a fucking dickhead, but he's popular. Yeah, him and his friends get to make my life a living hell because I fucking helped your dumbass. Women don't offer actual help. If they do offer actual help, they either A, leave it open-ended and never follow through, or B, they volunteer another man to do it. Now, a woman can come across as perfectly sane, have a sound mind, while she's making her fucking promises, but if you call her out, she's allowed to flip her shit. Try to flip the tables on you and pretend you're a fucking monster. You're a horrible person because penis. Because her hopes and dreams and fucking fantasies aren't fucking help. How does a woman help when another woman comes to her and says, I'm being abused? When a man is being abused, he needs that same exact help. Matter of fact, he needs that help more than a woman does. Because you will just assume that a woman is telling the truth and help her destroy a man's life. But you won't listen to a man. You're too busy woman-splaining at him and pretending that a pretty meme will fucking fix it. That a man has to do it himself. He just needs to man up. He doesn't fit your idea of what a real man should be. Just like that boyfriend that you loved enough to get married to. He was good enough just the way he was till the moment you said I do. And then he was property to you with that list of what a honey should do. Thank goodness to the women who don't do this. Thank goodness for fat women. Thank goodness for ugly women. Thank goodness for women over the age of 35. Thank goodness for women who were pretty once, but finally hit the fucking wall. Now there's consequences for those women for taking advantage of us that way too, isn't there? Because they never entered the job market appropriately. Did they? They're having to start off fresh. Many of them in the job market. With jobs that many years ago were pretty much reserved for 16, 17, and 18-year-olds as a summer job. Now we've got 35-year-old women who are starting off getting minimum wage, working at Safeway, working at Denny's. Working at Pizza Hut, working at McDonald's, working at Burger King. They're having to start off with a fucking shitty record. That's right. But because she's a woman, here's the real trick to it. If you were married during that time, or you were a live-at-home fiance, well, shit, you can say that and get away with it. With a guy, they go, all right, well, he's got this big fucking blank there where he didn't have a fucking job. He's a useless piece of shit. There's this big fucking blank here where he doesn't have a legal address, where he wasn't paying rent. Yeah, that was right after the divorce when she took the fucking house. He was still expected to make fucking payments on that shit. What, you think he's gonna have the money to fucking get a place? Hell no. His wife had expensive tastes. And he doesn't love her if he doesn't get her exactly what she wants. If he is not able to provide her unrealistic expectations. Desiree had unrealistic expectations of me, and we weren't even dating. Why did she have those unrealistic expectations? First of all, because that's what she's taught to do as a woman. Second of all, because she's a fucking selfish junkie who only thinks about herself. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a potential misrepresentation and manipulation. And then you want to say, give it to the universe. Give it to God. Give it to Jesus. Have you tried praying? Have you tried getting off your ass? Y'all know that story of the guy in the flood and the 3 boats go by and then he ends up at the pearly gates and the dude at the pearly gates says, or God says to him, you know what? I sent 3 boats. You drowned because you're a dumbass. Well, what if those 3 boats never fucking show up? That's the reality of the scenario when you're a disabled homeless man in this fucking country. There's no fucking boat. There's the promise of a boat. There's the, hey, if you're patient for long enough, a boat will show up. No matter how much you fucking pray. They're going to go rescue the rich people first. The people who live in a nice house up on a hill are going to get rescued first. You're going to fucking drown. That's the reality of being a fucking American. Let's see. Iconic Ice 45 MB type, not Arthur's, but to the police. Jessica typed, I came in halfway through your conversation, was speaking as I would talk to anyone who appears as distressed as you are. And yes, ma'am, but that's much of the issue. You ever had a boyfriend that when you need to vent, now obviously there's a reason that you're trying to vent, but there's a bunch of issues that have all stacked up, and you need him to understand that this is actually going on. But every time you start to speak, he's already starting to fix it. He wants to talk over you. He thinks that's going to fix it. Sometimes it's a pretty meme. Sometimes it's a hope and a dream. Guys, turns out, tend to come up with reasonable solutions. Women, it turns out, especially here in America, the trend is to make unreasonable decisions, such as the shopping trend. Shopping is therapy. And, of course, if we teach a woman that when she's stressed out to go shopping, it'll make her feel better, well, what if the problem is that she's spending too much money? When someone's as distressed as I am, we don't need people to talk at us. I know you typed talk to someone. I'm not just getting on here to vent, however. I'm trying to tell you about all the abuse that I'm going through over the death of Natalie Bollinger. And the fact that I had to go through that abuse for a whole year before she was killed. Being abused for having Tourette syndrome. Being abused for having Asperger's. Being abused for having PTSD. Iconic Ice 45 typed FR. I think that stands for real. Iconic Ice 45 typed, I wish I could help. You can. You're watching my channel. This stuff is on my channel. You can help to share that stuff. You can share it with the media. The most important thing that I need, however, is someone to act as a friend or family. I don't mean pretend to be a friend or family. I mean someone to do the things that a friend or family member would do if it was their loved one being harmed. My friends and family didn't do any of those things and haven't done any of those things to this day. My channel is full of empty promises from people and pretty words and hopes and dreams, and give it to the universe and give it to God. When you're poor, it doesn't matter how much you fucking pray. You were praying to God, right? Well, that person in a boat is a human being, not God. They didn't hear shit you said. Half of them are hoping that if they rescue rich people, they'll get money out of it. They'll get loot out of it. They'll get cash. They'll get diamonds. They'll get jewelry. Iconic Ice 45 typed, I wish I could help, but I'm underage. I read that so much on my channel. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not comfortable with you being on my channel. I am not comfortable with people who are underage getting on my channel. I'm not. Now that I know that you're underage, I'm not going to block you because you're not trolling me, but I would really very much like for you to not message me anymore. I don't want to have any people treat me like I'm some sort of a pedophile trying to touch your naughties. Iconic Ice 45 type, do you want me to leave? Well, it's public for a reason. I try to treat this as if it was anywhere else in public. As long as you're not causing me problems, I don't fucking care. Anyway, I'm going to stop replying to you now because I don't want to get in trouble or treated like I'm some sort of a pedophile who's trying to entice underage children to do something that they shouldn't, or something that's immoral or improper. And this is actually the reason that I ran off all them youngins down on Pearl Street. And I explained that on Pearl Street it's different. In Chapel, Nebraska, you can be friends with kids as an adult. If you're friends with their parents, yeah, you're probably friends with their kids. Their kids probably interact with you too. When they see you out in public, they probably are glad to see you. They're probably going to say something to you. They're probably going to wave at you. But in Boulder, Colorado, you're in the city there. Someone sees you interacting with a child, they're assuming the worst automatically. Another thing is, it's important to stay away from women until they're about 35 years old. And I don't mean that as an insult. I don't mean that to make it so that all women end up frozen and barren and emotionally devoid. What I mean is that there's a good chance that she's not going to make any connection to reality until she's about that age. Reality isn't going to hit her like a ton of bricks until that age, because before that, she can use her looks, bat her eyes, and shake her booty and get attention. And the wrong kind of attention. Let me tell you something about men and women taking responsibility. A man in a tuxedo knows the women are going to look at him. A man who lifts weights so that he can have rippling abs, rippling muscles. He knows When he walks down the street, the women are going to stare at him. He is specifically dressing to get stared at. He knows it. Same as the guy in the tux. He knows it. But somehow that 23-year-old who's only 5'2" or 5'4" goes down to the bar dressed like a Catholic schoolgirl, but a slutty Catholic schoolgirl. Sure, she's got the white shirt that's supposed to be worn with a tie, right? But she doesn't have the tie because she doesn't have the shirt even buttoned. She's got a red bra underneath and it tied in a knot in the front. What's she advertising there? She's advertising underage meat, and the kind of guys that she's going to attract are pedophiles. And that's it. It's kind of disgusting, isn't it? Then any man who looks at her, because she is dressing to get looked at, same as that guy with the rippling abs, same as that guy in the tuxedo, they know what's going to happen when they put it on. If I dress up like a clown, if I paint my face on and dress in an outfit that is obviously out of place, people are going to look at me. And I know it. I've worn dresses in public so many times. I know that a guy with a beard and a dress... Let me put my cigarette out. I got to make sure I put it out, though, because one of my candles had a hole in it. One of those tea candles in a metal container. It had a hole in the bottom of the container. Melted wax all over. If I don't put it out all the way, it's going to start stinking like paraffin wax. Anyway, for those of you women who maybe got this far but probably didn't, the problem is that you're doing exactly the things to your husbands, boyfriends, friends, and complete strangers, these social niceties that are expected. How about we skip out on the social niceties, the bullshit about the weather, your backstory, because you're not the victim here, I am. The hopeful things. This is what women are taught to do as help. To make empty promises. And of course, if a man comes to collect those promises, you promised that you would, you promised that you would. What are women taught to do? Play victim immediately. Well, first, they start playing stupid. Oh, I never said this, I never said that. Oh, I never said promise. And we teach every woman to do that. And it's not till she reaches about 35 that she realizes how incredibly stupid that was. Oh my God, the competition is over. I've lost because I've gotten old. It's scary, isn't it? Of course it's scary for women. Women are not more valuable the older they get. They become less valuable the older they get. Because our society, when it comes to women, we cater to the pretty ones. We cater to pretty and young. Now, if she's gone the career path, she's already got 30 kittens in her house. 50 years old, complaining that she's all alone. Why can't she find somebody? Because you swipe left and swipe right based on looks. You want the top 5%, just like all those other women out there want the top 5%. But a lot of them are younger than you and prettier than you, and they're willing to cater to the ones that are pedophiles. They can actually still look the part of a 12-year-old Catholic schoolgirl, whereas you are starting to look like a raisin. No one's going to fall for it. Their fantasy isn't working anymore visually. Well, you spent all that time trying to be visually appealing towards a certain type of Well, these aren't men, are they? Are they really? See, looks pull a man in, yeah, but they don't keep a man. If you're good looking, but you're a fucking bitch, but you're nice to him a little bit. So, of course, while you're a piece of shit to 80% of the men out there, treating them like they're rapists or fucking morons, but you leave a few of them in your toolbox if they've got useful skills or they'll do stupid shit for you. Like, yeah, that fat dude with the big, fat, thick Coke bottle glasses that's got a crush on me. Yeah, he's ugly as sin, but he's also really big. And if I don't get what I want, I'll just go tell that guy and he'll go beat somebody up for me. How many women have been recorded on my channel saying that they would hurt people? Saying they would beat somebody's ass if they saw them in front of me. Well, you're not the person I'm going to go to when somebody harms me then. Because I don't want people hurt. I need help turning it in. Most men are completely barren as far as relationships goes. 80% of us are expected to put in the majority of the work, while pretty girlies and the boys that they choose. Yeah, that good-looking guy, that top 5% guy that she throws herself at repeatedly, goes back to him after having the dude with the thick Coke bottle glasses come and rescue her, help her move all over her stuff, and threaten that dude. Well, then it's, oh, well, you know, he just couldn't take no for an answer. Oh, I wasn't interested in, oh, he talked me into this. He wanted, no. You called that dude up crying because you didn't get what you wanted and you wanted him to beat up your ex. Then you got lonely and you went back to your ex. You're not going to give that tool a chance. You know you're not going to give that tool a chance. You know you're taking advantage of him. You know that you've led him on for years. And that doesn't mean necessarily leading him on sexually. Leading him on that you're friends is bad enough. Because as a friend, he helped to rescue you when you needed it. When you were calling him crying, afraid for your life, from the man that you chose to say yes to. Who's going to pay the consequences? What are the chances that you're going to go back? Statistically, 4 out of 5. That means he's going to beat you 4 times before you're finally fucking done with it. It means that out of every 5 relationships where a woman's being beaten, 4 of those times you're going to go back because you don't want to be homeless. So you are choosing abuse if we're choosing homelessness. You're not looking at the other side, are you? When a man chooses to flee abuse, he's a scrub, he's a nobody, he's a deadbeat, even if he has no kids. He deserves to be out on the streets. Oh, if his family doesn't care about him, well, why should we? He's obviously a piece of shit. He's on the streets. He's obviously a druggie. He's on the streets. When we're victimized into having nothing, we're told that we chose it. But when a woman goes back to abuse repeatedly, she didn't choose to go back to her abuser. Yeah, you can go ahead and say she didn't choose to be assaulted, but the fact is she chose to go back over and over and over again. And she showed that you were not a friend. You weren't even in the friend zone. See, a lot of people use the friend zone for, well, you're not good enough for a romantic relationship, but she'll be your friend. No, you're a tool in the toolbox. There's also the fact that that's not really a proper representation, is it? Because there are lots of men who are legit your friends, legit fucking care about you, and those are the ones that you care about the least and take advantage of the most. And every woman in America is taught to do this. If you're a junkie, it's men's fault, and just say, oh, in Jesus' name, and somebody has to listen to you because you're a woman and you said in Jesus' name. No, you're a manipulator. And you don't think that you should have consequences. When you tell a man to move on, what you're telling him to do is to ignore the abuse. And I always make the comparison with a rape victim because that's all women care about, because that is literally the only category where women have it worse than men, and only according to arrest records, not according to actual statistics or studies of the events and issues. See, the studies of these events and issues show very clearly that the issue is bias against men. That a woman is assumed to be the victim and the man is assumed to be the predator. Also, Facebook and Twitter have both shown that between 85 and 95% of the time when a woman makes an accusation of heinous crimes, that she brags to somebody about the fact that it wasn't true. That she discusses with people that it wasn't true. The other thing is, you need to pay attention to the men in your life. Are they the top 5%? They're probably not actual friends then. If they're the top 5%, you're a throwaway. You're a dime a dozen. There's lots of people who want to go be friends with the popular person. There's lots of people who want the attention of the good-looking person. No, you go quietly into the toolbox that sits nice and neatly in the garage on a shelf. And that's where you'll sit. If anything happens to you, well, as long as you stay in the toolbox and don't bother her with your problems and just sit there and wait until she has a problem. And what are we taught as men? We're supposed to drop everything right away if a woman drops some crocodile tears. Or the oh, poor me, I have kids, I have kids, I have kids. I need help, I have kids. So you help them out. They say, oh, if you ever need anything, let me know. Well, I need you to tell the truth. Is that too complicated? No, you might send me 50 bucks down the road, just so you can throw it in my face 6 months after that. But you're never going to come forward or do anything useful. You're going to spit out a quote that you like from Captain Spaulding, or something that you read on Facebook last week. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Does a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush stop sexual assault? No, it doesn't. So why would you give that abusive advice to a man? That neglectful and dismissive advice, you're showing you don't care. You're showing that you're going to adhere to social niceties of what girls are expected to do, which is lie out their ass, procrastinate, waste time, and then play victim. And we can't have that. Now, at the very beginning of this recording here, I was talking about, well, it don't matter what I was talking about. You can go back and listen to it. Desiree did the most horrible thing that she could do in a situation like this. Same with Candace Bondurant. Women have no remorse. There is no woman in the United States who is going to have any remorse when she has done something fucked up to you. Every woman in this country, when she does something fucked up to you, knows that she can rely on the fact that she has a vagina, even if she's over the hill, even if she is well past her prime. When you have protections for the elderly, do you mean elderly women? Of course you do. Elderly women or elderly veterans. When you have laws that are supposed to protect the disabled, does it protect the disabled? No, it protects disabled women and disabled veterans. It's used out of context. There's a reason they spend all this time in the media painting homeless people the way that they do. All the things that they do to black people, they do to homeless. And they do it to the homeless a lot worse, a lot more frequently. Mimi Lucero typed, I have respect for everyone. Well, respect for everyone doesn't stop predators. You go ahead and respect the predators all you want. They're going to continue doing what they're doing to people until you put a stop to it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to do it without killing anyone, by trying to get heard. And people don't hear me unless I'm screaming, hooting, and hollering, and cursing. Every single woman in America knows how to turn in a crime and knows how to provide actual help when their friend is victimized. Every single one of them. And every single one of them is extremely likely to pretend that she has no idea how to do any of that when you have a penis. Oh, I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how. When you threaten a woman's kids, you find out real fucking quick that she knows exactly how to do that. But I didn't go threatening people's kids, did I? Now, this right here is what showed me that so many of these women who wanted to pretend that they were friends of mine were not interested in helping me. They wanted to tell me when it came time to come forward and tell the truth, like they had promised to do, like they promised if I wasted all of these resources that they would help me. When it came time to come through, there's always some excuse, isn't there? Including, well, Sean, people are threatening to kill me and my family. Really, if they were threatening to kill you and your fucking kids, like you're claiming, you would want someone to help you turn it in. You would welcome the help turning it in. And of course, when you're telling me that they're threatening to kill you because you spoke up on fucking Facebook about something you didn't know shit about, that's on you for being a fucking dumbass and putting yourself there. That's how men are treated. The law didn't matter. None of these judges are going to follow the law unless a friend or family member cares. None of these public pretenders are going to follow the law unless there's a friend or family member who fucking cares. The police aren't going to do their jobs unless you are with the fucking victim, turning it in with them, and not taking no for an answer when those cops refuse to do their fucking job. It's not men's fault they were born with a penis, and it's not their fault that we've taught women to be manipulative, twisted bitches who take advantage of that shit. Your daughter is not a fucking princess. We don't owe it to her to give her everything hand and foot and to destroy our lives for her. Because in reality, when she does destructive things, when you're married to her, does destructive things to your joint account, it's going to be inevitably your fault because penis. And you fucking know it. Respect for everyone? Oh, hell no. There are people who deserve our disrespect. They're called predators. People who take advantage of the elderly. People who take advantage of the disabled. People who take advantage of children. No matter how they do it. Women have literally turned all of these sites that are supposed to be helpful for people with autism into, we need to focus on autistic women and rape. And that's literally it. We need to ignore all autistic men. We need you to stop speaking about any issues that autistic people deal with. And we need you to focus just on rape of autistic women. When it comes to the race thing, BLM is about what? Black people, in specific black men. 96, almost 90% of those killed by police every year are men. 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 BLM was started because police are murdering black men. No, they're murdering homeless men. The majority of the black men murdered were homeless. The majority of disabled persons murdered were homeless. The majority of men murdered were homeless. This is just murders by the police. And then there's the fact that there's a 2-to-1 ratio of homeless people being murdered by people in houses over people in houses being murdered in general. That's not even counting the statistic of homeless people killing other homeless people. Because 1/3 of the homeless people killed, almost 1/3 of the homeless people killed, I should say, are killed by another homeless person. Most of the time because of street justice. And this is what every woman in America is taught to prey on. If a man tells you no, you go lie for street justice because a court of law is not going to fucking take your side. But if you and your friends abuse that man into having a mental fucking breakdown, then you can pretend that he's a horrible person who can't control his fucking temper. What about the people that are screaming at him, yelling at him, threatening to kill him at the top of their lungs, and assaulting him at a Safeway in Tillamook, Oregon, while he's trying to exchange cans because he's been forced into fucking homelessness? Do you give two fucking shits? No, you're going to type pretty words at us. Or you're going to volunteer some guy that you know to help us out. You're going to tell us you're sorry, or you're going to tell us a long-winded backstory about yourself, or we're going to get woman-splained that we need to go to the back of the bus because rape exists. Fuck off. It's bullshit. Men are abused a lot more than women. Women are 11 times more likely to be stalkers. Men are between 6 and 26 times more likely to be convicted. A man, when he has actual evidence of abuse, has problems getting anyone even to fucking look at it. When a woman makes false allegations, you will literally murder a man over it, and the police will fucking help you to get away with it. Mimi Lucero type, well, I am sorry, I don't know what to say. That's the problem. When you're in a relationship with a man and you're frustrated because you're trying to tell him something and he keeps trying to fix stuff, you don't need him to fix it. You're not done. You need to be heard. But he keeps on saying all those social niceties that he's expected to. He's doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. You're thinking that you're supposed to fucking say something. You're expected to fucking say something. So you're going to fill that space with something that, for autistic people, there's a reason we don't like small talk. It's a waste of time. It's anti-productive. Listening instead of giving advice, unsolicited advice. Instead of assuming that they called you because they need advice. Listen. Because every time that you do that, you have someone who has been through a very traumatic event or a whole series of traumatic events. And it is very difficult, especially for an autistic person who has to try to recite in their head what they're going to say to you and hope to the good Lord Almighty that doesn't actually exist, that you're actually going to listen. Because the moment you start talking over them, you're derailing the train. The moment you start asking the questions that you want to know, you're not allowing them to explain what they're explaining or letting them finish. Most of the time, I never get to speak the point. When I'm telling you about the abuse that has robbed me of my disability money and has robbed me of my rights as a disabled person, robbed me of housing, robbed me of evidence. I need you to listen to understand these things happened and understand that I'm telling you for a reason. It's not to hear you tell me that you're sorry or that you might take time in 2 to 3 weeks. You all know, every single one of you women know that you're not supposed to say you're fucking sorry. This is what you do to another woman to coddle her when she wants to pretend that she's a victim. She wants to hear I'm sorry. Real victims don't want to hear that shit. We want you to hear our story. We don't want to hear a story about how you were homeless in 1978, but you got off the fucking drugs. What the fuck does that have to do with my situation? It's not 1978 or 1968. We don't live in the same world that you did. We don't have the same resources that you did. And I'm not on fucking drugs. Where the fuck is the comparison there? Why are you fucking comparing instead of listening to the victim? Or you start digging for excuses. You think that if you make it a fucking pissing contest and you can fucking demean him and try to make him feel like shit for trying to get help with actual abuse by the, oh, my kids bullshit. Oh, you mean the same fucking kids that you use to say, oh, I need help, I have kids, and then you want to later on say, oh, I'm a responsible parent? No, if you were responsible, you would not be a parent to begin with. Over 95% of pregnancies in the United States were unplanned. And between 70 and 90% of all pregnancies in the United States and the majority of dating starts with what? Getting drunk or fucked up on drugs. How many homeless girls out here on the streets are about to have women that I didn't even know had kids telling me they're having their 3rd, 4th, or 5th kid out here on the streets? Fucking shut off.